Today I posed the question, does AI steal creativity? I posted a clip with a short with Rick Rubin saying AI doesn't have a point of view. And at that point, I don't think he knew that much about AI. What I didn't know is after that clip in that interview, it sounds like Rick Rubin found out quite a bit about AI and definitely now has an opinion on it. There's a notion that if you use AI to create music, you're not a musician. And if you use AI to create music, then you're not doing anything creative. You're letting AI generate the music for you. You don't have any musical input. And AI is generating that music based on the training that it has received on other people's music. First, I'll say there's a little bit of truth in everything that you hear. You just have to discern what the point of view is. And everything you hear has a definite point of view. And by hearing many different points of view, you can then formulate your own opinion on it. I'm going to try and give you some different points of view today. Let's hear what the CEO of Suno AI Music has to say.
It's not really enjoyable to make music now. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. You need to get really good at an instrument or really good at a piece of production software. I think the majority of people don't enjoy the majority of the time they spend making music.
He also says,
We're not making music, we're making musicians.
wow, that's a pretty bold statement. I'll start right there with something to think about. If you use Suno or other AI music generators, are you a musician? There's different aspects to that. For one, you can upload your own created music, and now you can have AI make music for you based on that. You can sing or hum a melody and have AI make some music for you based on that. But you can also just describe something that you want, and it can spit out lyrics or music or both, and all the instruments and instrumentation. Does that make you a musician, or are you just using AI to create music? Let's listen to Will.i.am's point of view about this.
Wade, you know what I mean?
Like imagine it's 1970, and we're talking about jazz here.
Okay.
A jazz musician would say, hey man, what do you think about these samplers that are coming, man? People just sampling our stuff that we did back in the past, man. You think that's music, man? Just sampling stuff, man? Turns out that's the form of hip hop. Sampling.
Right.
And using technology to reimagine and chop up and reconfigure. Doing poetry, tapestry, collage music. Like, so I can't be that critical over AI because I have a career sampling music.
Now, Will.i.am's viewpoint is taken from the fact that, as he mentioned, his whole career is built on chopping up, remixing, and editing music. So I would say the point of view here for creating AI music is if you're not a musician at all and you use AI, you just simply tell it to create something based on something, that's probably a little bit different than chopping up pieces of it, remixing it, editing it in a new way, making a collage, as he mentioned, from other previous bits and parts. I think maybe from this point of view, it really depends on how much you're letting the AI do and how much you're using AI to just put your own stamp on something. He talks a little more about it here.
Like, so I can't be that critical over AI because I have a career sampling music. So, and the songs, people like the songs, like Pump It is Misery Loop by Dick Dale. And I reimagined that and
but you are a human who took creativity and added to it.
Yeah,
if it's a machine that's doing it, are they just stealing it, lifting it?
That's a key question. And that is one aspect of this point of view that you should probably remember. If AI is just generating something on its own based on prior works, is that just stealing or is it not? And number two, if you're taking something and adding to it and making it your own, now are you being creative, number one, and are you creating music, number two? And number three, does that make you a musician?
well, that's all. You got to be careful with that too, because there's a lot of Shakespearean plays that have been reimagined, and somebody used that as reference points to create films. Whether it's the hero of a thousand faces, we've taken and borrowed and created. But at the core of AI music is some developer, and that's their art.
I don't know about this particular point, so I don't know if he's talking about the person that's using the AI or the person that created the AI, because AI being trained on data Yeah, there's no developer there that's doing anything creative. He's just enabling AI to be trained on music of other people. And the person that's creating something, they're not really a developer either.
So you can't discredit their art for creating that algorithm
Right.
Yes, they did borrow from music. They did train on the entire library that humans have made.
So there's no art at all in making an algorithm to train AI on other people's music. As a matter of fact, I don't believe, honestly, that you're creating an algorithm at all. You're just training AI on data. It's not an algorithm. It's a massive knowledge based on other people's knowledge to make something new from. So, in my opinion, there's nothing creative going on there from a coding or development aspect of making the AI that has the ability to generate music for us whatsoever. So that's another point of view, which is interesting. There's lots and lots of lawsuits out there because the AI companies have been training their AI models on what's publicly available on the internet. In other words, just things that people can play on YouTube, and there are lawsuits about that going on right now. For one, YouTube does not allow you to download something, so there's the argument that that's not public information and AI should not be able to train on that. But going back to what Will.i.am said, these companies are not paying any musicians or bands or artists for any of the music that they are and have trained their models on. They're simply not.
And then we're going to get to a point 20 years from now where it would have evolved. And it's not about training on yesterday's music. And we have to prepare ourselves for that too, because the AI that we're concerned about is not here yet. And that is the AI that's creating just on its own.
Another interesting point of view, and I don't think it's going to come 20 years from now, that AI can create music on its own. And what that would mean is now a human is not putting in a prompt. A human is not asking for lyrics or a mood or a style of music. AI has evolved to the point where it can figure out what music it would like to generate on its own without human input. But on the other hand, it still would be using the entire body of music that it has trained itself on. So it may actually, in the future, somehow have a point of view. Another thing to think about here regarding the point of view is humans have had the ability to evolve and change things over time. That's why different styles of music have evolved. Jazz, blues, rock, subgenres like acid rock and world music and hair metal and everything in between has developed based on what humans have seen, and they've taken that knowledge and adapted it into something new. And over time, new genres of music, new types of music evolve over time. Will AI on its own, or with the assistance of humans, be able to evolve into new styles of music that have yet to be discerned or created? Will that happen in the same way that humans have evolved and created new styles and types of music? I have two other YouTube videos that kind of delve into topics that are relevant here. And one is called Can You Copyright AI Music? And I found a video where a gentleman talks about how by adding human elements to something that AI creates, whether it's your own recorded hand claps or a background voice, now it's copyrightable. By editing, chopping, remixing, or making a derivative work, now it's copyrightable. Or by taking your own completely original creation, your own original composition, and uploading that into AI to further generate or edit it, those items make it copyrightable. And those are all interesting because they go hand in hand with what Will.i.am said. Is that really different than the basis for all of hip-hop music? So there's something there to be said for the fact that, am I being creative when I do that? Am I a musician when I do that? I suppose that part is subjective. But those things are definitely copyrightable because you put your own stamp on it. I have another video called How to Create AI Music. And at the end of the video, I talk about people that have different opinions on AI music. And one of the things I say is there really a difference between being a music producer and using AI to produce music? And what I mean by that is, let's just pretend you were Rick Rubin for a second. Rick Rubin is not a musician. Rick Rubin does not know the first thing about how to play a musical instrument. He doesn't know anything about reading music, but in his own words, he knows good music when he hears it. He is a world-class producer, and he has drawn some of the best music of his generation out of musicians as a producer. Is there a difference between what Rick Rubin does as a music producer in the room with bands and someone who uses AI to give it prompts or upload samples or music to it or generate some lyrics and then they make changes to it and they further edit, remix, and tweak it? Is there a difference between a person that uses AI to make a new musical creation and Rick Rubin's role as producer with bands? Is there a difference between the two, or are they very similar and almost the same? As heard in the Daily Stoic podcast with Rick Rubin, which is actually titled AI Isn't Stealing Creativity, It's Supercharging It, I want to give you another relevant point of view based on what I said in Rick Rubin's own words. I am both a musician and an IT person. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept that Rick Rubin talks about that I'm very familiar with, called vibe coding. I'm going to let him speak about it.
Vibe coding is, do you know what traditional coding is? Writing computer language, and it's a very exacting, specific, time-intensive, detail-oriented job where you'll write, you want the computer to do something very simple, and you write thousands of lines of code to get it to do this simple thing.
That sounds a lot like making music, doesn't it? It's very similar. Think about the fact that a developer or a coder has to write thousands of lines of code to get the program to do something, whereas a musician making music, there are all kinds of stories about albums that were made in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s where a band would take up to 2 years to make an album. Weeks and weeks and weeks spent on re-recording and drum tracks and overdubbing parts and background vocals and coming up with new alternate takes and versions and writing and making 100 songs only to pare that album down to the 10 or 12 that the public actually gets on the final version. Going back to what the Suno CEO said, it's very difficult to make music, to learn to make music, to be creative. It's also very difficult to be a programmer, a coder, and make computers do what you need them to do.
Both exhausting, difficult, and if there's a mistake, anywhere in these thousands of computer speak, anywhere in these thousands of lines, then it won't work.
It sounds a lot like music, doesn't it? Back to what vibe coding actually is.
A very famous coder said, I've been experimenting with a new thing, I'll call it vibe coding, where instead of writing the code, and this is a guy who's an expert at writing code, decided I'm going to tell the AI what I want the code to do and let it do what it does. And it does it, and what you get back is not really what you wanted. It might be related to what you want, it might be a bad version, or it might be something different. Completely different.
Again, vibe coding is not new now. It's been around a while. And you can tell AI and different kinds of generators, make me a website. You can be very specific about it. Make me a video game and be very specific about it and get back different versions of it. The same way that you can use Suno or an AI music generator using a prompt, and you can tell it exactly what you would like. And what you get is several different versions of what it could be. At this point, that's why the analogy of being a music producer is very analogous to using AI, because you're doing exactly what Rick Rubin has described. You're giving it several ideas and thoughts, you're bouncing them off, you're getting something back, you're taking a look at it, and now you're wanting to change it and make it into something new. It's like AI isn't thinking for you, it's giving you ideas to think more about.
Does it, and what you get back is not really what you wanted. It might be related to what you want, it might be a bad version, or it might be something different, completely different.
Exactly.
He was getting back was interesting enough that he could then give it modifications, also like vibe coding on top of vibe coding to get it to do what he wanted it to do. So instead of writing thousands of lines, he says a few words to a computer. It gives him feedback, a mock-up, let's say. He looks at the mock-up and says, okay, now try it like this. and then it gives them a new iteration.
And that is exactly what we do with AI music generators each and every day. Again, you can tell it one specific thing without a lot of input, get a couple of songs. You could walk away with that, not using much creativity or thought. And well, that's how a lot of the internet slop is made today, isn't it? But on the other hand, if you give it some specific inputs, especially if you started with your own original music or your own original lyrics, or you modify lyrics that it gave you and then made it your own, or took that melody and further refined it, isn't it creative in the same way as a producer works with bands to just keep working with something there until you have your own version of it? The subjective part is, how much do you have to change it to say it's completely yours, you did something significant to it? I guess for those of us that have been around long enough, that goes, back to the whole Vanilla Ice argument about Ice Ice Baby, when he said, well, I changed it. Instead of do 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 do, I made it do 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 do. I mean, really, it's very subjective. It's a very fine line here about how creative you're actually being with the creation of AI music.
Other thing, which maybe we don't think of as a skill, but a kind of a detachment or an openness to spontaneity, that is the ability to call and respond and improvise based on what you get.
Yeah, and it's very much in tune with what happens in the recording studio, because we may go in with an idea, but very quickly through experimentation, it takes on a new form. We're very rarely directing. We may start with a direction, but then based on what we get back, we change direction often.
Yeah, and there's another thing to think about. As far as supercharging and increasing productivity, I think what we might find in the future at its very base, if musicians can use things they get back from AI to supercharge their own creativity, to help them improvise on the fly, to give them new themes and ideas to start with and to play with, that is very valuable. At the end of the day, you'll formulate your own opinion on AI music, and is it hurting or helping creativity? If you use it, are you a musician? Is it hurting musicians? Here are some thoughts on it by Dustin Ballard, who has created a TED Talk about, is AI ruining music?
I think at the end of the day, even with all of the many downsides of AI messing with our music, I think a lot of artists are discovering the same thing I did, which is there are ways to use AI that can actually increase creativity. I think we could see new songs, new sounds, new styles that maybe we can't even imagine today.
Please leave any thoughts that you might have below in the comments, and feel free to subscribe to our channel, DIY AI.